Well, we've been seeing these violent crimes occur at gas stations and convenience stores throughout the Charlotte region. Some of the places that we've been seeing these include in Charlotte, in Gaston County, in Catawba County, and in Burke County, and some of these crimes still remain unsolved. Catalytic converters contain a small amount of platinum. You can find them underneath your car right over here. It's this cylindrical object, which is at the center of crimes in Charlotte, Gastonia, and Cleveland County. Troopers told me that teen driver had told them he was trying to avoid an incoming car that had crossed the double yellow line. Troopers say that teen driver told them he had swerved and ended up down here. We just have preliminary information. Let me show you and step around the camera. Right over here, one second, right over here, this is the vehicle that we've been kind of keeping an eye on. Deputies say they found 2 boxes filled with skimmers hidden underneath the car, including right up here in the wheel well. Hans and Amber Alf knew when they bought this land, it would hold their forever home.
We couldn't see any of our neighbors, complete privacy, and that's really what we liked out here.
Until the chirping birds became beeping trucks.
Yeah, we didn't know who was moving in, but we assumed that it was somebody rather large.
They were correct. They found out their new neighbor was Apple, which chose Catawba County as one of its new homes for the iCloud. The Alfs say they didn't need an algorithm to figure out what was next.
This process is going to be long and difficult.
As Apple began pushing its construction closer to their home, the Alfs say contractors began hauling in equipment through their community's one-lane road.
We felt their construction trucks were too large, too heavy, too many to be driving down there without doing major damage, and they did do major damage.
They say the trucks and water runoff from the construction site is turning their road into a muddy mess, frequently flooding when it rains. One neighbor tells me the flooding washes out his driveway and causes water to pond around his home's foundation. But it's not just quality of life families here are worried about, it's also their safety. Andrea and Scott Fleury live just east of the site. They say construction trucks race past their home going well above the speed limit, which in turn makes their hearts race every time their 2 children board the school bus.
They do stop, but that's always my concern. Are they going to really see it? Are they understanding that this is an area that people live and have a life? You know, that this is not just a construction zone.
Like the families before them, Apple chose this land to be its forever home. The Alfs, the Fleurys, accept that. They know the company isn't going anywhere. They just want them to be good neighbors.
Please be respectful. I mean, this is our home.
It was history in the making. Catawba County Sheriff's Captain Jason Reed described this as North Carolina's first ever opium poppy bust, an estimated street value of at least $500 million.
It's very intimidating. I was overwhelmed. We weren't expecting anything this size.
But neither did anyone expect Reed and the man accused of growing the opium poppies, Cody Zhang, would eventually find themselves on opposite sides of the law. Jason, do you have any comment? Reed's now facing the possibility of up to 9 years in prison after being accused of stalking an ex-girlfriend using a vehicle tracking device belonging to his narcotics unit. Zhang is a free man. Prosecutors formally dismissed his criminal charges at the start of the year. Newly sworn-in District Attorney Scott Riley says Zhang's dismissal began with his predecessor, David Lerner. Riley says Zhang's case was one of a, quote, large number of cases brought by Reed's narcotics unit, which Lerner's office ultimately rejected for prosecution. Riley describes the actions of Lerner's office as, quote, a blanket rejection of Reed's narcotics division. He says he couldn't even begin to estimate just how many cases were rejected because there were so many.
The covenant relationship.
Every day, Frank Sinati gets a Bible verse sent to his phone.
This promise of forgiveness and restoration extends to all God's people, wherever they are found.
He received that verse Saturday, a short time before he found himself hiking the China Creek Trail near Blowing Rock.
I thought my whole trip would have taken me round trip 3.5, 4 hours max.
It ended up lasting 30 hours. Sinati's hiked for decades, but this time he got off trail. His GPS on his phone wasn't working. he was lost.
I was disoriented, very disoriented. I'd been dehydrated.
He only had basic supplies, nothing to start a fire as the sun slowly set.
And I pounded my legs and I moved my feet, basically 13 hours. And whenever I was lucid, I prayed.
At this point, rescuers were already looking for Sanadi. The hours of darkness began ticking away.
So I kept thinking, I'm better off than I was, and I'm closer to daylight than I was.
And closer to his rescue, firefighters found him around 11:30 Sunday morning.
They asked me when I was down in the bottom, what are you looking forward to? And I said, getting out of here and being with my wife.
Who was right there to greet him after firefighters brought him out of the trail.
Good job, Frank. Good job.
Good job, buddy. You got yourself out, my friend.
An exhausting 30 hours, yet his mind was still thinking back to the day before when he read that Bible verse he got on his phone.
But that was in my heart when I left here with Mary Ann.
Sanadi tells me he doesn't plan on going hiking alone again without a GPS device and telling someone where he's going. In Blowing Rock, I'm Brandon Goldner, NBC Charlotte. Well, Brooke and Bill, this story is about how two women went from delivering newspapers to making the front page. It's now muscle memory, forged by hundreds, if not thousands, of early morning paper routes. You ready? Oh. But Elizabeth Bradley and Angela Horsberger's delivery route last Monday had an unexpected twist when they arrived at one particular home off Linwood Road in Gastonia.
I noticed that something wasn't right because her front door was open and the lights was on.
At this house, Bradley has to get out of her car to leave the paper on the back porch at the homeowner's request.
I got out and I was halfway under her carport and I heard a very faint "help me." And I stopped and I heard it again. I walked up on her porch and there she lay.
There laid the homeowner, an 88-year-old woman who Bradley says got stranded outside her home. She was struggling to get back in for 12 hours. Meanwhile, Horsberger was still in their van.
She didn't run back, she hollered, come and help me, she's on the porch.
What?
I was like, what? She said she's laying out here, come and help me.
They can laugh now, but at the time it was scary. The two helped the woman into the home, but then they stayed.
She wanted us to leave, and we told her no. She said, well, y'all got a job to do. We said, them papers will be there. We're going to take care of you.
They waited until they could get in touch with the woman's family. Her son arrived soon after. He took her to the hospital to get checked out. No time for Bradley and Horsberger to bask in the glow of their good deed. They went right back to completing their route. This also shows good deeds don't just have to fly under the radar. They can also end up below the fold. In Gastonia, I'm Brandon Goldner, NBC Charlotte.